Hello everyone, welcome back to Proper Chaps, Proper Chat. I am Abs, I'm back again with Bill, and we have
Hi everybody.
we have a special guest today. Carl, would you like to introduce yourself? I'm going to say a quick bit. Carl's a dear friend of mine. I've known him and we worked together at one of the dealerships, but Carl is also a ex-professional cage fighter. So we're going to get him to talk a little bit about that, a little bit about his new business, any fights that are coming up, but please
And
Carl.
also a newfound cousin.
And newfound cousin, yeah, we'll talk about that as well. So, Carl, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, Carl. So that's me. You kind of explained me anyway, but yeah, we used to work together at Mini, so that was good times.
It was nice, wasn't it? We had so much fun working there.
Most of the time.
And now I'm unemployed and you've got your own business.
I have,
so.
yeah. How times change.
I know, how times change.
You say that though, and he's actually spending more money than anyone here.
I would say it's ridiculous.
It's a bit weird, isn't it?
For an unemployed man, he should not be spending like nearly £100 a day.
No.
I'm not spending £100
Mate, you spent
a day.
81 quid today already. That's just what I know.
That's on Chinese.
That's on Chinese
and beers.
No, as you all know, we spend some money on snacks to review for you, and I've gone with a couple of my personal favourites. But I also treat one of my co-hosts to their drinks as well.
You did indeed,
so
you little sweetheart.
they can't be taking the piss out of me.
Didn't give me anything though. So.
No,
He didn't. He offered me and he walked straight past you, didn't he?
I've done an hour's drive for
I know how minted you are, mate, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Right, who's going to start with their snacks and their beverages?
I don't mind jumping straight in.
You jump straight in, a little bit closer to the mic.
As I said last time, I wanted to try something that was a bit different, and I ended up trying 2 new beers last time.
Yeah.
But this time I went with something again that's a bit new. So it's a Birra Moretti. It's actually a really nice beer. It's a really light beer. It's really refreshing, really enjoyable.
Yeah, Lewis tried one of those last time.
It's a very light beer. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's kind of got that sort of Foster's kind of thing to it, I suppose would be a good way of wording it. Yeah, it's really nice, refreshing.
And what snack have you got?
And again, just like last time, I went with the inner child in me, and I treated myself to a Twix Extra, because a normal size just isn't good enough anymore.
It's kind of like the old size Twix.
I'm pretty sure they were that big when we were kids. I feel like we could say
and
this.
they're just conning us now.
Yeah, they're just making them in.
We should have bought out the Twix Mini.
Yeah, exactly. I think
That's
that's where they went wrong. Yeah, they should have gone small first, then gone large after.
Robbing bastards. No. Carl, what did you go for? You voted
Well, I went for your opinion of Camden Hell's beer lager. Sorry, not beer, lager. And,
Is a lager.
Yeah, see, I was like
Camden Hells. Is it like
it's
that?
actually all right, you know.
Is it not bad? It's a little can. It's like a Coke
I'm not going
can.
to lie, kind of what you said there. It's got a bit of a Foster's feel to it. Maybe it's just all
Tastes like
Foster's, mate.
Caspis.
Yeah, that's it.
It's just different cans.
Fosters in all the bottles, yeah.
See, I went for the only worthy drink, and I've gone for the pint of the old black stuff, of Guinness.
See, now, that's a drink you've drunk plenty of times over the years.
I love a Guinness.
Plenty of
I
times.
love a
Good for
Guinness.
your iron
can't
count,
beat
mate.
Guinness.
So
It
Very
is,
true,
and
yeah, it's good for the
it's a
blood.
healthy drink.
Yeah, it's good for the blood.
Technically, yeah,
One is.
one a day.
Yeah, that's it, yeah, one, yeah.
This is
Not
the
4.
first Guinness I've had in probably 6 months. So
I'm surprised you didn't have any beer.
I was waiting for you to go about 6 hours, but that's what I've had today.
I love a Guinness. Although, saying that, my grandparents used to take us to Ireland on holiday fishing every year.
Guinness Factory.
No, we used to go Southern Ireland, not Northern Ireland. And they were doing a lot of Murphy's. Murphy's is a stout like Guinness, but it's sweeter. But it's difficult to get Murphy's here. So Guinness is the substitute. Although Guinness is fucking delicious.
I mean, you can't go wrong with a Guinness. As we all know, you can't go wrong with a Guinness.
You can't. And for my snack today, I will share this out with all of you.
I was about to say,
Not all of you listening, but all of us around the table,
Is that
because
caramel?
this is a brand new M&M's caramel, salted caramel bar.
See, now you got my attention straight.
I know. Oh, I'm chucking
all the right
chocolate
way.
everywhere. Pass it round,
All
sir.
good.
We're all about 2 metres
Yeah,
ish.
and I went for the Kids and Grown Ups Love It So.
Oh,
The
Star
Harry
Mix.
Boys
Super Mix.
Yeah,
I prefer the Star Mix.
I do as well, but I already had some on the way in, so.
Fair enough. And you still stick thin.
See, I'm a Tangfastics man. Can't go wrong with Tangfastics.
It used to be until I got crowns. It just really makes me feel weird, I'm not going to lie.
That
Mate, you're just throwing it away.
Just dropping it
You
everywhere.
might as well just give it to the viewers, mate.
That is fucking superb, that. Amazing. and only 111 calories
So cute.
per 4 bars. Of a chocolate bar, it's probably got about 40 bars in it.
I was literally just about to
Not
say
half
that's
shit,
less
is it?
than.
That's fucking good.
Alright.
I was just about
Right,
to say
they're
that's less
amazing.
than
Like the
Lewis's
peanut
proper
one.
corn from last time. But that's for 4 bars, whereas his was for the whole bag.
There's about 24 bars in there, mate, so it's
Oh,
like a
yeah.
daily allowance in a bar.
Any listeners out there that want to go and get themselves a salty treats, if you know what I'm saying, go and get some salted caramel peanut.
Maybe go Tesco
salted
first, it
caramel
might be half the
M&Ms.
price for what you just paid for it.
I should imagine they're
Or
on
don't
offer
get a job
somewhere.
and apparently roll in it, so
Yeah,
go where you
exactly,
want.
yeah, we've decided we're going unemployed now because
Yeah.
apparently that's where the money is now.
No, I don't have a lot of money. I don't have any money, to be honest.
I
But
was about to say you shouldn't have any
This
money. You're
is-
unemployed. That's how it works.
this is once a week.
The man with 4 new tyres as well today.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's a
4
bit
new
different.
tyres, viewers. 4 new tyres, listeners, should I say? 4
£280 a tyre as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyone out there who's got a tyre sponsor by any chance, if they'd like to put us into contact, we'd be more than happy to
Yeah.
have that conversation.
Any sponsors would be quite happy, purely because I need some money.
Yes, help the broke man
Yeah.
that's spending all the money.
Yeah, all our money.
Yeah, that's it.
So we were discussing in the car on the way here, Carl being a mixed martial arts fighter, wanted to go through a couple of things. I don't want to make it very interviewy, I want to make it more chatty, but how did you get into fighting? What was like your main reason behind, I'm going to go into a ring and get my head battered by a stranger?
Oh yeah, didn't go with that.
I was about to say, I like to think you don't
go,
walk in with that motivation.
Yeah, you don't go
yeah.
into a mentality of, oh, I'm going to get battered today, I can't wait. You know what I mean? It's,
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure it happens. like-
Yeah.
it's not the plan.
Well, we were talking, we were saying about getting in a fight with Conor McGregor. Because the
mate.
money people get paid to fight him, it's like 5 million, 10 million
Well, look
quid.
at Jose Aldo, he took 1 punch, he ain't got
I mean,
millions.
that's-
I know.
Look at
9
Cerrone-
seconds
look at
for £1
Cerrone,
million.
what, that was what, a minute and a half?
Yeah,
I mean, that's not bad.
Someone turned around to me and was like, Conor McGregor's got to punch you in the face, but he's going to give you 5 million quid afterwards. I'll be like, fucking sign me up.
Spend $1 million on your face and you still got 4 million up.
I'd come out better looking than I went in.
It's funny because we were actually, me and Lewis were talking about this last time. We were saying, you know, it's actually mad because he's probably made, I'd say, 10 times the money he's ever made in the ring in the past 10 years, just from his, you know, his whiskey.
You had
his
some of that
clothing
whiskey,
line.
didn't you?
Proper, yeah, mate, I
Proper
get it all
12.
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, bottle a month.
Mate, it's a massive
Nice.
thing now, massive thing in Ireland. They limited
Beat
people
Jameson
to
for
2
sales
a lot.
last year.
Yeah,
So
yeah, he's actually
Yeah.
doing better than
Mate, it's
Jameson's
so
whiskey.
nice.
He's doing
It is
better
so,
than
so nice.
Jameson. How mad is that? Just
I
put
wonder
that
how
into
much money you put into developing it.
not
it's,
a lot.
It's one of those things. I should imagine a company probably approached him and said, "Look, we've got this, but we've got no branding. We've got no, you know, we need your face.
We'll
we need
give
your-"
you 80%.
Yeah,
if
and they
you
probably
sell it
agreed
for us.
to, give him some kind of percentage of
I
rights.
think he
over it.
hyped that up when he fought Mayweather as well. Like
I mean,
biggest
that's the
fight
thing. Yeah,
ever.
he come on the stage and dropped 2 bottles on the counter. I mean, that's the.
Millions of people saw that.
You've got
as
to think,
well.
right? If you wanted your company advertised, how much do you think you'd pay for that? What,
Too
10
much
million?
money.
20 million?
Yeah.
30 million? He got that for free. He just walked on the stage with his own
Yeah,
bottle.
and he left with money.
Yeah, and he left with more money than he went
100
in with. I
million.
mean,
Yeah,
that is
is that
get
how much you
beaten
got
up.
paid?
Yeah.
100 million to get
Yeah,
beaten up.
literally.
Fucking hell.
To
I
get-
mean,
to
I'm
get
definitely
smacked
in the
around
By a
no job,
40-year-old
but
as
wrong
well.
job.
I mean, don't get me wrong, not any of us would mess with Mayweather, mate. But
I mean, it's one of those things, isn't it? In a street fight, you probably smash him up all day long.
probably
No, you
not.
wouldn't.
No,
He'd
'cause
batter
that,
you.
that guy
Mate,
is
if he
so
clips you in the
aware.
head, you're going into a
Oh,
coma
don't
for
get me
3
wrong.
years.
It's been quite. He's been
Don't
shown
get me
over
wrong, if
years
I went
that he
into
can
a
throw
street fight, I'm
punch.
not going off with Conor McGregor hand to hand.
But, oh yeah.
There's
I
something
mean,
else in my hand. there,
Look
you
at
know.
what happened between him and Pacquiao. I mean, I don't know how you guys felt about it if you saw the fight, but I personally felt like he was just running away from him 90% of the
No,
time.
he just
Yeah,
played a
but
clever
he's a
game.
mean
mate.
little
He was
bastard,
playing
isn't
the
he?
right game. I mean, at the end of the day, he's protecting his
Hit and
record.
don't get
isn't he?
hit.
He's,
That's-
he's
You
protecting
know
his
what I mean?
record,
Ain't got to
isn't
look
he?
pretty doing it, mate.
Yeah, of course, I
He's a
completely
master
get
of all, master of that trade, I tell you.
Oh yeah,
Can't-
definitely.
And
can't touch him.
I think that's what makes the heavyweight fights a bit more exciting, where you know that every single punch that's thrown is potentially, you know, that
Fatal.
knockout punch. Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
on-
You know.
How many people have died in a ring? I wonder.
Believe it or not, you wouldn't. It's not actually that many.
Mm.
Like it's less people than get killed by coconuts or sharks a year. Like it really is, honestly.
Oh, I'd have to Google it. Anyway, how did you get into fighting? You
I just
completely
started
missed that
young.
point.
I really started young. Like, my dad was boxing in the army, and I kind of just followed suit, mate, to be honest with you, and then just did multiple disciplines from such a young age, and just loved it. It was just a way out, do you know what I mean? It was a lot of kids, because I was like at school where I didn't do like footy and stuff like that. It was either do rugby, and I weren't really rugby stature. Do Do you know what I mean?
did
So
a little
it's
bit of
kinda- I
rugby
did
in
scrum
school
half for a
and that
while
was
and
it.
then realised you've got these big 18-stone people in front of you and I weigh about half that. I was like,
That'd be me and you, yeah.
Yeah, that would be
I
us.
was kind of like, I'm not really into this. Do you know what I mean? Where I don't know. I just like I say, I fell in love with it at such a young age. Boxed for a while, did Muay Thai for a long time, and then literally just like moved on. Someone approached me when cage fighting wasn't really a big thing, if you know what I mean. So it was probably less regimented than what it is now, which made it a bit more daunting. But you look at it how it is now, it's so like strict and everything like that. I'd say the only negative with it all at the minute is there's still too much danger around weight cuts for MMA compared to boxing. There's so many weight classes. Like you could be like £6 difference, and that's a different weight completely. Whereas MMA, it's like 7 kilos at a time nearly. That's a huge gap to be in.
7
Like, for
kilos
someone
is
like
quite
me,
a lot.
I walk around at 73. So I either drop to 70, but a lot of people are going to be big, so they're dropping from like 78 kilos. So I had to drop down all the way to 66 kilos, which for me, my frame ain't carrying that at 6 foot, you know what I mean? But I was having to do it. But the amount of people I've seen drop dead from that, instead of actually having the fight, it's mental.
The weight cutting is scary. I mean, I remember I see photos quite recently of Jose Aldo going down, because he's gone down to bantamweight now, isn't he?
Dropped another weight.
And he looked like a heroin addict.
Yeah.
It's the only way I can word it. He just
Well, even Conor McGregor actually stuck up for him, because everyone was slating him and all
really
that.
were.
But he's like, no, you just don't understand what you have to put yourself through. Do you know what I mean? And
I feel sorry for Masvidal coming up to this next fight. He's got to lose over a stone.
It's 6 days notice to take.
And to be able to make the fight. I mean, I don't see how it's going to be. I don't see how it's going to be a belt fight. I don't see.
I was watching.
Is that the baddest motherfucker?
No, that's for the Usman fight on Fight Island. He's been confirmed for it now.
You were talking about that, weren't you? Fight Island. Tell us a bit about Fight Island.
Funny enough, I've got a bunch of questions for you regarding Fight Island actually, because I want someone who's got a bit of an insider knowledge, because I'm curious. There's loads of things about it. Just I don't know. It just.
Well, the first rule about Fight Island is
Don't
talk about
Fight Island.
Funny enough, it looked like Dana White stuck to that for quite a long time, because he knew about the
Oh, that's been
location
going on for
a
years,
while
mate.
now,
He's always said that he wanted like a place where people fly out to. It's their own. Do you know what I mean? They own it all. They've got all the rights to do whatever they want.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Is it just to fight there, or is it to train there?
So
Can
they've got-
spectators
They've
go?
all got camps. They've all got separate camps in the site, so they can all still train as they normally would. It doesn't affect them in that way. It's actually, I don't know how much you know of Abu Dhabi and Dubai and that kind of stuff, but it's actually only about 3-4 mile out of Dubai.
That's smart,
it's
that,
it's
because then
actually
you've
quite
got
close.
all the multi-millionaire
I think
Arabs going
they're
out
even
to the
doing. I think
fights.
they're even doing shuttle buses and all sorts there. But you've actually got. That's where the racetrack, the Abu Dhabi racetrack, actually loops through part of that island.
Does it?
That's where it goes through. Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
pretty
yeah, it's
cool.
not far from where the main stage would be. Is where the F1 stage would probably be. So yeah, it's cool. It's a cool idea, and I think it's actually really smart that he's been able to pull it off.
Opened it up at the perfect time as well.
Yeah,
didn't
I
it?
mean, within this
So-
pandemic, I mean, nothing is working at the moment. I mean, a lot of stuff is getting back to normal now.
I wonder if people have got a quarantine before they go there at the moment to train.
Yeah, so I don't know how much you've been following this either.
I don't watch a lot of mixed martial arts or boxing or anything, unless it's a big fight, and then I'll stay up and watch it.
So originally, Kamaru Usman was supposed to fight Masvidal. Masvidal disagreed over a pay dispute, so Gilbert Burns stepped in. Gilbert Burns has now been confirmed as having COVID. He did a test literally 7 days before the fight, and boom, he's got COVID.
So he can't fight anymore.
Exactly, and that's why last minute it's like, okay, we need to find a title fight now. We've got to
he's
salvage this.
the type of person who won't say no as well.
And exactly, and luckily Masvidal stepped up, and now they've got the main fight that was always supposed to be there from the beginning. But as we're saying, now he's got to lose like 20 pounds, about a stone and a bit.
They'll lose it though, man.
mental.
I'm sure he will.
You lose 6-7 kilos in 24 hours of your fight. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, and then guys are conditioned for it.
I was watching. It's a little bit off topic, but Graham Norton. So I don't know
That's
if you
quite
watched
way
it.
off topic.
No,
mate.
listen.
To be honest with you.
Unless it's been
Cage fighting and
I
then,
don't know
oh yeah,
about
I
it.
watched Eurovision last night.
No, I watched Graham Norton, and Henry Cavill was on there. And obviously Henry Cavill's fucking shredded. He's massive, that
Witcher,
guy.
Superman.
Exactly. But for Witcher, there's a scene in it that's quite a famous scene in the games where he's in a bath. And he had to dehydrate himself
got
to
that as your
make
screensaver,
himself. Yeah, I have. Yeah, mate, fat time. No, he dehydrates himself, so his skin gets tighter to make him look bigger than what he is. Is that how fighters do it as well when they're cutting? Will they eat less and dehydrate?
Yeah, so basically everything, like especially 24 hours before, you're literally getting to the point where you're even spitting into a cup, a bottle, you name it.
Oh, that's
Because
fine.
anything's just excess fluid that's in your body, so you get as much of it out. Do you know what I mean? And
Spitting can't make that much of your weight up.
you'll be
though.
surprised.
Yeah, you will, honestly.
Yeah, once you get to a point of what they call like the no return, if you know what I mean, that every little bit of fluid is a weight. Do you know what I mean? And you're going in and out of
Like a supercar.
scalding hot baths. Do you know what I mean? To like sweat everything out. Then you go back, you got towels over you, cooling down for hours. You just do it again and again.
Yeah,
mate.
that's
And
got,
there
that's
was
got
a-
to take
it's
its
horrible,
toll on
mate.
your
You're
body.
there just.
There was
like,
actually-
Is that
messed up.
something you would do when you're going up for a fight as well?
All this, mate, I used to be the worst one I had was when I fought. It was in Romford, so I was fighting on Brad Pickett's show. So again, if you want to see a good show in the UK, like Rise of Champions, mate, is so on
So
point.
is that like a starter division to move up to
No, he's
UFC?
got himself because obviously he is. For me, he's like one of the biggest names in England for UFC. Do you know what I mean? He had a
Right.
fucking great career out there, mate. He's one of the nicest guys you'll meet out
What's
in
his
the
name?
division. Brad Pickett.
Oh, shout out to Brad Pickett.
So
man.
massive shout out to him, mate. Got a really, really good squad behind him.
If you want
trains-
any free advertising, just let
Yeah,
us know.
just Brad, gives a shout, mate. Vigor 8, look after him. But he's also main coach for Nathaniel Wood. So he's a massive up and comer.
Yeah.
Really done well. He took a tricky loss in his last fight, but was undefeated prior to that in the UFC. But he's coming back. He's fighting on Fight Island, I think.
Is he?
Next Fight Island, actually.
You should see if you
So,
can get out there with him.
Let's,
That'd be an
let's
experience.
rule out for him, mate. Do you know what I mean? He's a good lad. He's got a really good head on his shoulders.
Well, good luck with that. We hope
yeah.
he'll do well.
I've got a big W by his name. I think he's learned his lessons from the last one. But no, like I say, mate, it's just brutal. Losing that weight is like it's worse than the fight, if I'm honest. Because once you've done that, you kind of feel that's it. Do you know what I mean? You've done the hard bit, kind of thing, and getting your head kicked in isn't actually as
Bad
harsh
as you
as that.
think.
Because mate, you get to a point where you can see shit. Do you know what I mean?
It's,
just
it's-
like
it's a bit
mental.
funny you say that because when you watch a lot of movies or TV shows or anything like that, it makes you think it's worse than it is.
Yes.
But the only one that I find that hasn't, and this isn't to glorify street fighting, but the what's that fucking football hooligan film called?
Green Street.
Green Street. The bit where Elijah Wood's character's like, once you find out that you're not made of glass,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter
and
what
that's
they
what it's
do.
about, and that's what you learn to see who's going to make it in a fight situation. Do you know what I mean? Because the moment you see a lot of people come in, and do you know what can be technically insane, and then you see him get hit for the first time, and then you just realise, right, this guy ain't going nowhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're flinches and stuff like that, and not being horrible, mate. Like you say, once you've had a kick in and you've healed from it, you think
The next
"Oh,
one then is
that's
bad."
it. You get hit again, you're like, I remember this. Do you know what I mean? And it's weird saying that as well. Like with MMA, you're getting hit with 4-ounce mitts, elbows, you name it. But when you're training with like big 16-ounce gloves, it literally it feels like having a pillow fight for your whole camp. You put them bad boys on, and you're just like, right, okay, have I just been hit with a brick? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of that you don't learn to weather that. If you know what I mean? Because if you imagine if you're training with that for
What?
16 weeks,
Yeah, it's going to
game out, your hands are fucked. You're getting battered all the time.
I was just
It's
about to
game
ask
over.
why they use two different gloves in training.
Well, the
but
main reason,
you've
the main
answered that.
reason they do that is it generates hand speed. So if you're fighting with weights in your hands, basically that you're not used to, but then you all of a sudden you strip them off,
Your
you
hands
can
are
imagine
flying,
your hands have
yeah.
gone from like 50 mile an hour to like 120 mile an hour, just fucking rattling away. They don't feel so tired.
Less
If you know what I mean?
resistance on
Because
the
obviously
punch,
you're
yeah.
holding up like that.
So is it
that kind of
heavier
weather,
gloves when you're training or lighter gloves? when
Yeah,
you
so
fight?
heavier gloves when you train, but for boxers, some of like, especially when you go like semi-pro, amateur and stuff like that, they'll use 14, 16-ounce mitts. Obviously, one for safety reasons, because a lot of places now have stopped doing like head guards and stuff like that. I'm quite glad they've done that, if I'm honest, because one for me it restricted a lot of vision. So it's all right saying, oh, you know, look what's going on and stuff like that. But
Never
when
go
you
on
can't,
Also, you-
sorry, hitting the thing.
You never go
But
on
you
head
just
guards.
start seeing yourself getting a glove to your face and all that, but you don't see it coming. For me, that's more dangerous than just
Yeah.
letting it hit you without.
And also, I don't know if you're slightly off balance because you've got this thing that
You're not
weighs
off
a
balance,
little
but the
bit.
problem is,
but-
if it gets hit, it moves.
Yeah.
So you're forever adjusting. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like they're all right being on once they're on, but once they get hit in a certain way, like I've had it where they've just spun in front of your face, and
And like you've got to pull it
you're
up
kind of
and
going
push
like
it
that,
down,
doing
yeah.
everything you can. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like just put a bigger glove on.
Would they
Job done.
stop a fight for that?
What's that?
If your mask twists, so you
No,
can't
not
see.
always. Like, don't get me wrong, yeah, I'd imagine if it was like back to front, they're going to
I'd like
call
to hope
time
so,
and let
yeah.
you kind of change it
I'd like to
around.
hope so, yeah.
Luckily, like I say, I've never really got to that point where I've had that issue, you know what I mean? So I stripped straight into, like I say, the mixed martial arts world very quickly.
You did say you got another fight coming up.
Yeah, so weirdly enough, yeah, I've spoken to Anthony today because I've had like a lot of personal issues that have come up through the last year. Like I got diagnosed with MS last year, and I'm at a point now where time's now if I'm gonna do it.
You
again,
might as well get
and
out.
do you know what I mean? It's
out
kind
the
of
way.
like right. I've always said I wanted to end on my terms. I didn't end on my terms last fight because, like what I said to you with the weight cut, it brutalised me. I got really ill, and it's not taken away Corin. If he's listening at some point, he'd have been a better man on the night. Do you know what I mean? Fantastic fighter,
didn't
good
help.
pedigree, but I'd like to think it would have been a bit more of a scrap than what it ended up being. Do you know what I mean? 'Cause I just had nothing in the tank going into that case. The walkout knackered me out. Do you know what I mean? So I was just like, this is game over, kind of thing. But it's you live and learn for another day. But for me to say that was my final fight, just feels
You
a bit
want
of an
something to
injustice the
come back
career
and
that I've
finish
had,
it off.
if you know what I mean. So I spoke to a good friend, Anthony Ferguson. So he runs Renegade, which is where I did a lot of my training at for my last fight anyway. He's just like, it's been over for a little while now, that he's got a new gym, mate. It's state of the art, it's beautiful. He's got pedigree beyond pedigree in just himself, and he's got coaches beyond that, do you know what I mean? But this guy's been multiple world champion. His last fight he fought for a world title, and mate, like watching the fight that he had, that's had like I think about 1.5 million views when it
That's
got re-released
impressive.
as a thing, and that was like that as well, so it's probably still climbing. But mate, it wanted like, I swear it got like pips for a fight of the year or something like that. Like I don't think it won it, but it was up there. But mate, the guy's a legend, do you know what I mean? And I sat with him. Well, I didn't sit with him. I messaged him over Facebook like you do, and I said to him like, you know, would he give me the honour of like having one more session with him? Do you know what I mean? Let's go to war together, and not me fight him obviously, because I'll get absolutely battered. I'm just gonna openly admit that to him. But I said there, would you help a man out? Do you know what I mean? It's going to be hard work because obviously I've got to adapt to my illness as well. But he just literally came back, mate, it'd be a privilege to do it. Do you know what I mean? And that's
nice.
the respect that you get. And like I say, I've only trained with him out of camp once. Do you know what I mean? But the feedback I got from him was the most honest feedback I've had from any coach I've had in my whole life. To a point, even at one point in my fighting bit, he was like, "I don't want you to fight. You're not ready."
Yeah.
But
That's
I did
what
it for
you want
multiple
in a
reasons. So I had
trainer.
to kind of respect his decision, but he respected mine that it was out of my hands. I had to do it. Do you know what I mean? So there was a lot of things going into that. So I took on the fight because one of my close mates that I used to play football with, his son had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Right.
So I was literally, all the money I earned for that fight was going to pay for his medical bills. That's all I wanted to do it for. So when Anthony came to me and said, "You're not ready to fight," any other given Sunday,
You
I'd
would
have
have
respected
not-
that, stepped away, gone in another day. But he respected the fact that I was like, I don't care what happens to me, I want him to get better. And if I can help a little bit and take a burden off his family with money and stuff like that, fuck me, I don't care if I lose. Do you know what I mean?
I can't think of a better reason to
No.
step in.
Do you know what I mean?
No, that's fucking
The only
impressive,
annoying
that.
thing was, and I don't say it in a horrible way, was literally about an hour before my fight, he rung me up. So Chris Gabb, I hope he's listening because I hate him for this, but he rang me up and goes, "Great news, my son's all clear." Literally an hour before my fight, and you know, you've got all this pent up, so you're ready to fight for something. I was like, I don't need to do this right now.
I bet in your head you're thinking, I don't need to fight now. I don't need to fight now.
You really just done this an hour before my fight, and it just
but,
literally, honestly, mate, I can't say how much it mind fucked me because I was just like,
Yeah.
That'd have been a
wow. But and I had so much like euphoria for him, but on the same time, I was just like, you couldn't tell me an hour after my fight. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can keep that
So
quiet
I've
for
done this.
half hour,
Oh yeah, guess what? He's all right as well. I was like, right, thanks, mate.
Well, that's good news.
But
yeah,
no,
it's
I'm
not
saying
good
I'm
for you.
happy.
It's
And
great
his
news,
son's
yeah.
doing so well, mate, and
Good.
it's so nice just seeing him live a full, healthy life. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, he's had to be really shielded with this COVID because he's an ex-cancer patient. But God be with him, mate, because he's healthy as anything. Do you know what I mean? And it's worth it.
So going back to the money, sort of how much money, obviously you don't have to disclose it, how much money would you get per fight at sort of the height of your career?
It varied, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Depending on who
could
you
be-
were fighting?
Yeah, it could be the whatever show it was on, who you're fighting, And that's kind of like how it works with Conor McGregor. Like, if you know you're fighting Conor McGregor, you know you're getting a pay packet no matter what. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if you're fighting someone that ain't even known to the business, chances are people ain't going to pay to see that. Do you know what I mean? So there were good days, really good days, and then there were days where, mate, not being funny, it didn't even cover the cost of a week's worth of training, let alone 16 weeks of it. Do you know what I mean? But that's what you do, though. You grind. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's how you become the best. You just push and push and push.
And a lot of the top UFC fighters, mate, they don't earn what you think they earn. Do you know what I mean? There's no money, really, unless you're
It's sponsorship, isn't it?
I read a thing recently,
massively.
just on this subject, that was
We're
really
all that
shocking.
White, aren't they, at the minute?
Apparently, Nate Diaz was being paid 20 grand a fight and would get a 20 grand bonus if he won.
Yeah.
That was it. That was his flat rate. Yeah. That was his 8-fight contract, 20 grand a fight. If you win, you win. If you lose,
and what people must
about
have to...
three-quarters of that goes, mate.
Yeah, what people have to realise, not only that, you then get tax. It's 40 grand, but you got tax to come out of that. You've also got however many weeks training to come out of that.
Exactly, that's a big one.
And you've got flights if it's somewhere like
you've
Vegas.
Got your medical team, you've got your cooks, you've got your trainers, you've got where you're living. Do you know what I mean? That don't cover that money in the end. Do you know what I mean? You're paying to break even pretty much. Do you know what I mean? And stuff like that.
That's where being in a big promotion like the UFC probably pays off, because obviously they've got the backing and the money.
They've got the
brand
where they'll push it out to as many people.
You've still got to get big quick. Do you know what I mean?
Well, they did in Dubai. They can walk into a hotel and take over a hotel because it's the UFC.
Yeah.
And another name brand MMA might be able to do it, but they still don't have the pool that UFC does. So again, I think it comes down to promotion, because I think a promotion like UFC, maybe they're physically paying their fighters less than what they would in an equivalent sports like boxing or something like that. They are getting paid less.
Yeah, because a lot of boxers get paid wedge, don't they?
Oh yeah,
they get money.
That's very much a British heritage as well, isn't it? Boxing.
Well, and American. Do you know what I mean? Them two collide. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I mean, like American football players. I mean, if you're an American football player, sometimes you will get paid more than these fighters will ever see in a year just to walk on that.
What about Mahomes? Have you seen that?
I was just about to say about that, because I saved it.
10-year deal, 50 million a year.
Disgusting.
Yeah, 500 million.
That ain't even including sponsorship.
No, he's got 10-year deal. It works
million.
out that the very minimum that he'll earn out of it, minimum without any sponsorships or anything.
It's like $500 million, I think.
Yeah, 473 million.
Well, yeah, not far off.
Which is
get it right.
That's
27 million or
27 million between friends.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly.
That's a lot of fucking wedge.
It's a stupid amount of money. But then,
how old is he? Like 22, 23? I swear.
I don't know. I'm sure I saved it. I'm going to try and put it up. It might not be on.
But what a talent!
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you watched the Super Bowl this year, mate. But
watched it.
I mean,
mate,
some of the pay difference are
incredible.
massive, but it's not just in UFC, or in MMA in general. It's in every facet of almost pretty much every sport.
Anything where you can market a person.
Yeah, I mean, F1 is a prime example. You at 7 years old, you have to be a top-level kart driver, like Lewis Hamilton was, for example, and his dad was spending tens of thousands to keep him at that level.
I saw a video of him.
Formula 3, and then you go into Formula 2, and then if you're lucky enough, you get picked up into Formula 1. But Formula 3, Formula 2, they're doing that off their own back. They've probably got no sponsorship. Admittedly, someone like Lewis Hamilton probably did have some.
He got help by Merck quite quick on.
So I should imagine
because they'll see him on a kart track and
but
go, fuck me, what's he going to do in a car that'll do 300 mile an hour?
An ordinary person who thinks they're a good driver, like
people
probably
like he did on the weekend.
I don't know.
Still gets paid millions for it though.
My brother-in-law was saying, I've done something really sad the other day, and I just sat and watched them doing the warm-ups and the training on the lap. I'm like, mate, I do not care. All I want to do with I would love Formula 1 if I saw them fucking crash in and driving dangerously.
That's what it was all like. First time F1 felt like the old school F1, like this race.
That's what people watch it for. They watch it for exhilaration.
The thing is, so I don't know how much you guys know about Formula 1, but I like to think I know my history on that kind of stuff. So
he knows fuck all. He's just chatting.
I think it's
he's got a bit of paper in front of him here.
I've got all my notes. I've got my
Formula.
You're giving away my secrets, guys. So I think it was 70s or 80s. I will probably have to fact check this at some point.
That's
so if I go quiet. But the evolution of Formula 1 has come on heaps and bounds in the last 10 years. Up until then, there wasn't a lot of evolution. It was a case of, 10 people or 50 people have died because of this. Maybe we should actually look at changing the rules. And that's kind of how it worked, to a stage where in the 70s or 80s, I think it was 12 drivers died every single year. Just from driving, just from being in Formula 1. That's not from, catching a tail end of a crash. That's not from flags going out at dodgy times, or
banging your head on a rock while skiing.
Yeah, anything like that. Dark.
Ashley. Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, so even in Formula One, you know, you go back, 30, 40 years, it probably was really exciting. But at the same time, these guys were dying in nearly every single crash, and that's the key thing, is the amount of deaths per crash now. I'm pretty sure is probably down to.
I think the last one was that young lad, wasn't it, where he went under the tractor, literally under a yellow,
didn't he? Yeah.
He went
yellow
under
flag.
a
Well, it was a yellow flag. He
Yeah.
was piss poor day, mate, and literally just
Like today.
outbroke himself, and literally just wedged underneath a tractor, mate. It was like
His
game over straight away, mate.
neck snapped
Yeah.
as he went. Oh, mate,
He
it
was
was
in a
horrible.
coma for a few weeks, wasn't
Yeah,
he? And
yeah.
then just,
They
that was it.
originally they thought it was going to pull through, but they thought he'd have no motor skills or anything like that, and he'd just sort of be a bit brain dead.
That's a bit.
Talking,
I'll tell you
what,
Fucking hell.
Dark.
Excuse the pun.
Didn't even equate that.
Couldn't have no motor skills, no.
Yeah.
Just crashed around a freaking corner.
Oh, bless his heart.
talking about dangerous sports, this was a story that happened years and years and years ago. So my dad's from Lancashire, and it's very hilly in Lancashire. So every time it snows, people will get their fucking
Toboggans out.
toboggans and
Oh,
bits
yeah.
and pieces.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
Jimmy, come by the sled team. No, then they'd get these little sleds out and they'd slide down these hills. And some young girl, I think she was like 14, 15, shot down this fucking hill at like 70 miles an hour, didn't stop at the bottom and went straight through a barbed wire fence. Literally,
Oh, I
mate,
remember you saying
head
this, yeah.
just
It's like
off.
Final Destination
Done.
shit, though. Do you
Yeah.
remember when the...
That's brutal,
yeah.
yeah, mate.
Oh.
Like, you've got to be careful doing shit like that. Especially
So,
you hit a
so
wall
careful.
at 70 mile an hour on a sled, you're fucked.
I mean,
Good job we get nothing but rain here now.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I suppose it comes into one of those things, isn't it? It's all about the safety of it. You know, if you're on the top of the hill, you might not see it, and you probably think, oh yeah, push my kid down, no problem.
Just want to say live score, United are winning 1-0 at the minute. So
Oh.
United are winning.
Bruno Fernandes again. Just want to put it out there. So
So-
things I do for you, mate. Come and do a
Oh,
podcast
no.
and Mr. Football.
I know,
Oh, we
Mr.
playing that?
Football. You got Sky, haven't you? Just record it. I've been going through Facebook the last week, just
Yeah.
trying to strum up some stuff to talk about. This come up today. Do you know if the free TV license for over 75s is going to be scrapped in August?
Oh,
They're making
really?
over 75s pay their TV license.
Yeah, why not?
That's
What a
kind
bunch of
it's kind
cunts.
of disgusting in a way.
What?
They're the people that watch TV most, though.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
mean, you
they
paid
are.
your tax over
Yeah,
75
mate,
years,
they've
haven't you?
paid
Or have they?
everything over 75.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a valid point.
Could
I
be
mean,
a Del Boy.
Amazon,
Yeah.
Google,
Yeah, yeah, Apple,
Apple,
yeah, all of those ones that don't like paying their tax.
exactly. But yeah, I mean,
They'll pay their fair share of 1.2%.
oh yeah, of course they will. Yeah, I mean that'll happen in 5-10 years, and then they'll not paid the tax for the past 10 years. They said.
Do you know
they
the one
paid.
thing you shouldn't do? If you've got your Skies, your Virgins and shit like that, why the fuck should you have to pay tax on top? You know, your TV licence on top of it. Why is it not included?
I'd test
Yeah,
the TV license.
I think
I'll
it should
pay
be a
it,
part of that.
but do you know how much actual TV I watch?
Probably none.
None.
Pornhub don't count, does it?
Not fucking, not one. I don't watch BBC One, BBC Two, nothing. Because everything I want to watch, I can either stream it on Netflix
Yeah.
or Amazon or Apple TV.
Don't you have to have a licence for that now, apparently? As
I
well?
don't know.
I think you do now.
I think
they've
there's
changed the
certain
laws
ones you
on
do.
that.
So I
Yeah.
think like ITV Player. I
You
think-
have to
I
do
don't,
that.
I don't think you do for 4ID.
iPlayer you do.
I don't think you do for
Oh,
4ID. I think you do definitely do for iPlayer because it'll ask you to actually put in your details of
Yeah,
your
that's it.
thingy. Yes, you actually.
The
log
thing
in.
with that,
Mental,
right,
isn't it?
isn't the TV license in this country purely to fund the BBC?
Well, that's what it was originally set up as when the BBC set up in like 19, whenever it was.
Yeah.
The reality is that money probably doesn't go anywhere near the BBC. at
Just
this
goes
point
in
time.
someone's goes in the government's pocket. To
I-
be
I
fair,
should-
that
yeah.
might have paid for fucking furlough for the last
I
3
mean,
months.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the way to
So-
look at it. Is we can all complain about paying the tax, but at the moment they are
They're
quite
allowed you to
literally
get a-
chucking the money out left, right, and centre. I mean, I don't know if you
heard
guys
a
have seen
rumour.
recently about the tickets and meal vouchers and stuff.
Yeah,
apparently
they're
out,
doing.
that kind
If
of
you're
stuff.
going
Yeah,
in
and they're like
restaurants,
the
they give you 50%
Well,
off.
they're
or
on
something.
like this shop
so
vouchers,
it's
aren't they?
capped at £10 though for the restaurant. I don't know if
Is
a lot
it?
of people have read this.
10
yeah,
quid
so,
off. Fucking hell, I
so
go on-
basically,
It's not even a
if you
start.
go
I
out
go
and
on
get
Beef Eater app and they give me 40% off.
well, yeah. So I mean, and that's the other confusing thing as well is it can't be in junction with any other offer, and the company has to have signed up to the Gov deal before you go. So you have to ask the place that they've set it up before you do it, because otherwise they won't accept
I will
it.
very rarely eat out unless I've got a voucher.
I mean, it's one of those things.
I don't like doing
If you spend 20 quid on a meal, it's only a tenner. If you spend 25 quid on a meal, it's only going to be 15. So I mean, if you look at it that way, you are still
Yeah, but
saving
that
money.
just about gets you a T-bone steak.
I mean, yeah,
Also,
the reality is it going to make that much of a difference to most people? Probably not. Is it going to get more people out of the house and potentially into restaurants? Possibly.
Yeah.
I can see why they've done it.
Are they paying
Is it
for a
gonna
second wave? Yes.
I mean, this is the thing, is I understand that at the moment, we're getting political again, actually. We said we weren't going to do this.
I know.
But it's one of those things, I understand what they're trying to do at the moment is they've got basically, a thing in each hand. They've got coronavirus on one hand and they've got our actual country in the other hand. And they're literally sort of going, trying to work out which one is more important right now. And I completely get that 100%. At the end of the day, their job depends on our country and government surviving. So I do 100% get that. But at the same time, like you say, the risk, is it worth the reward?
I think it's if you're sensible. I went out for a pint with a friend of mine last week, Saturday, when the pubs opened. Yeah. And we went into the Weatherspoons in St Ives.
How was it? Was it packed?
No, it was dead. But the thing is, they were so fucking strict in there. Every time you went out for a cigarette, when you come back in, you use hand sanitizer on your hands. You go in the toilet, everything's laid out for you.
I mean,
but what they were also doing is they were essentially doing table service. So they bring everything to your table, but you weren't allowed to leave your table. If you see a friend at another table, if you went home, we saw people doing this while we were there, going from their table to a friend's to see them, and they would get kicked out.
Oh, right, okay, just because they weren't following the rules.
They weren't following the rules.
I'm glad I ain't got any friends then, mate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good way of doing it, I suppose. At least they are taking their rules seriously and they're being stringent about it. I mean, one conversation I had with my missus was, are there going to be any kind of government regulatory firms, or is there a company that's going to be in charge of it? They're going to be going around to make sure these businesses are following the rules?
There should be.
Yeah, they should. Of course they should.
Because
otherwise, what's the point in making the rules in the first place if they're not actually going to make sure they're enforced?
Yeah, well, to be
but at the
fair,
same
there was
time, how are they going to pay
beaches and stuff when the weather was nice.
But a lot of that weren't real though as well.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of that was actually photos from like 2 years ago.
I had a lot of my friends actually who live in those areas, and they're sending pictures going, "It's not what you think. Empty, it's dead." Like, so these were like X-Photo, man. This is what makes you question this whole
clickbait
pandemic.
There's been a lot of that stuff. There's been a lot of that stuff going on.
Let's invent a virus that kills people that are vulnerable in the society.
Is it a way of making the society cashless?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, is it a way of getting chips inside when you get these injections?
It is a crazy
As soon as they said about apps on your phone that could track you.
Have you seen it?
I've seen it.
It's on everyone's phone.
I was like, not a fucking chance.
But they were going to do the same thing. They basically did the same thing in Italy. In Italy, when the first sort of wave hit and it was really bad over there was photos going around everywhere of hospitals full to the brim and all this kind of stuff and everything else. The reality was, all those photos were from about 5-10 years ago when a completely separate incident happened and a load of people were in hospital. But they just used those documented photographs, and that was what was put on. And I mean, these aren't just...
Power of the media, isn't it?
I mean, this is it. But I'm not just talking about like Lad Bible. I don't mean to cuss Lad Bible if anyone's listening. But it's not just like Lad Bible, poorly informed, putting up a post. This is like Daily Mail, and these are big companies.
Yeah, Cambridge Live and places. Yeah.
I mean, these are big, and these are reputable firms that are basically printing lies. And the thing is, people found out, like we all did, and just sort of went, that's fine. I mean, look at that. During coronavirus, they announced that NASA have proof of UFOs, and we all went, oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
And no one said anything about it.
The thing that I find is, any time something sketchy is going on with either the government or people in power, there's always something to distract you, whether it's the Black Lives riots, whether it's coronavirus, whether it's a plane in Malaysia going missing.
Completely missing, with no record whatsoever.
Talking a missing plane. Manifest.
Oh yeah, we were talking about series. Have you been watching any new series? Because I've watched one and he's watched one.
I've not.
It's based on that.
They're not all new. Yeah. I've watched quite a good one on Netflix that is brand new. I would definitely recommend that to you guys, which is Unsolved Mysteries.
Oh, that's quality.
Really good, really good.
The first episode.
There was an episode that lost me. I don't know if it's the same with you. I don't know how far you've got into it.
I weren't paying a lot of attention to all of it.
There's an episode where it goes into just randomly the French.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie.
I saw that, and I was like, I'm not reading subtitles.
That lost me at that point. That completely lost me, because at one point I'm watching the episode, you get to the end, next episode starts.
I thought we said no racism here, mate.
No, it's true.
I ain't watching that. It's French.
No, it's not that it's French.
Sometimes.
Unless it's something that's really going to grab my attention, like a Studio Ghibli film, like Howl's Moving Castle or Spirited Away, or something where I'm like fucking locked into it. I don't mind reading the subtitles, but if it's something like about, I don't even know what's going on in that.
I can't even remember
because
what
I
episode
watched
was
it and
about,
then started
'cause
doing the
I-
washing
yeah, I
up, and then I
wasn't-
come back when it was done.
I wasn't reading it. Yeah, I just sort of heard it in the background. I was like, hang on, this is
So
French.
it's all unsolved mysteries. First episode, right? Guy, Mrs. goes away on work. He's sharing with one of her friends as well. Gets a phone call. Gets really panicked. Yep, no worries. Leaves, gone. Miss him for 6 days. Right?
Yes.
Completely vanished. They found his car 6 days later
In a random car park.
in around a car park. Next to this car park was a multi-storey car park. So they went up there and they looked over, and there's a big fucking hotel here. It's in Phoenix or something like that.
It's a massively big popular hotel, very high
They see a
ranking.
hole in the roof of one of their lower levels. So like, I wonder what that is. So they went and looked at it, and this guy's body looks like it's fell at such a speed where it hasn't shattered all of his bones, but he's gone through a metal roof.
Well,
Like a projectile,
but
like he was a bullet.
The reason it was always, and this was actually a really interesting story, this one, but the reason this was never ever put through as suicide or even as a actual crime involved, where
His shins were broken.
that's the thing is
And
that
if he had gone through
whenever
it,
someone
his
commits
shins were
whenever
broken.
someone commits suicide, especially from a height, you will always fall forward.
Yeah.
No one ever jumps willingly from a rooftop and lands on their feet. Not someone that wants to die.
Yeah, you jump. You
You
head
dive,
first,
you
you're
dive,
off,
you
and
don't
that
jump,
was
you
it.
dive. And
Yeah.
he landed on his legs, and that's why his bones were shattered so badly that his actual
It come
femur
through his
bone
skin.
had come through his skin and past his.
But the thing is, they worked it out. They went up and they worked it out. For him to be able to go through that hole from the top of this hotel, he would have had to jump 45 foot
so he had a
out and down.
But the
physically
roof,
impossible.
the roof itself was only 45 feet wide, and he was wearing flip-flops.
Yeah.
So apparently he ran in flip-flops across a 45-foot distance, got enough speed to jump 45 feet
And go
then
through a
land
perfectly
perfectly for a
feet
metal
first.
roof.
Maybe that's where it's been going wrong in the Olympics, mate.
Maybe
Flip flops.
flip-flop. Yeah, they speed you up that.
The one thing I
propellers.
never understood about that case, that I said to my missus, right, was that if it was a suicide, the other side of the building faced the main street. If he
Why
wanted to be
wouldn't he?
found, if he wanted his body to be
He would have
located,
jumped through there.
he would have just jumped straight down, and it's
And
a,
they
it's
found
a
that
flat land.
cryptic note as well, didn't they?
Yeah, I
But
mean,
he was well into researching
he was a writer, wasn't he? He was a writer.
like Illuminati and all these secret things. But I said to my missus, I was like, maybe someone chucked him out of a helicopter. You think helicopter could have gone past there and chucked him out, but then at what point has your velocity and your mass stop to a point where you're either going to liquidate on this roof, because if you're jumping from a height and you're hitting a metal roof, you're turning into jam, or to a, it's true, isn't
Oh,
it?
yeah, no, it is.
Or
Your body will
you
just
go straight through it.
Yeah.
That's
that's
got to
the
be
thing.
such a fine point. So someone could have just gone, right, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to chuck a bowling ball off of there.
Yeah.
Because of the force of this bowling ball, it's going to make a human-sized hole, like a bullet would, because you shoot someone with a gun, the entry wound's like, like a centimetre wide, but the exit wound, if it comes out, it's going to be like 6-7 centimetres.
I thought you were going to say 6 cents then.
Yeah, because
Exactly
it just blows out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be the size of
And
a
then
small
just
tennis ball.
dumped his body underneath it. But they didn't find him for 8 days, so he'd already started to decay. So that's why they
Decompose,
set it as undisclosed or whatever it was, or unconfirmed. So it couldn't be ruled a murder, but it also couldn't be ruled a suicide. That's a fucking sick series.
Oh, it
Anyone
is, it's
watching
very
this
good.
and you've got a bit of time, you're still on furlough, watch that
Well,
shit.
the other series that I was on about, which I would recommend, I don't know how obviously car guys you are. You both come from the car industry, so I'd like to think you're at least mildly car guys.
Yeah, a little bit.
Ain't got a clue.
But Netflix's Hyperdrive.
Oh, mate, how good's that?
It's great.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I've only just started
Straight
watching
away,
it.
he's like,
I've only just started
Oh, mate, I
watching
watched
it.
that ages ago.
I've only
It's
just started
amazing.
watching it. But I don't know, have you seen all the like behind the scenes stuff and all
Yeah.
the sort of secrets and stuff that people have been leaking lately?
Oh,
there's,
no.
There's a channel called VinWiki.
Yeah.
I would fully recommend clicking on that and having a look, because there's a couple of videos on VinWiki from recent hyperdrive drivers. I think
Yeah.
Aaron, I can remember his last name now, and one of the guys, Fielding Shredder.
Yes. Oh,
Yes,
mate,
yeah.
he had an
'Cause
epic crash.
Well, he was on top of the board at the first sort of start.
Drifting that you could do, mate.
Well, yeah. So he basically goes through the whole story of like, so 2 years beforehand, he found out that they might be doing this thing, and he wanted to go for it. And like, yeah, he goes like all into detail about how it actually got from like start to actually like, this is what we're doing, this is it kind of thing. And it's a very interesting story. I definitely recommend viewing that.
I'd have to give it.
Yeah, I've been watching that Rust to Riches.
The series is really
The what?
On Rust to Riches on Netflix.
Oh, is that like
Yes.
a Wheel
The
of Deal?
trade up
Yes,
shop,
yeah.
mate. I've got my
Oh.
missus into that, and she's literally turned into like a car demon now, mate. Anything like old American muscle cars. She's like,
The weird thing about that is
love
that's
it.
actually Canada, isn't it? It's
Yes.
not America, it's Canada, and their car scene is a bit
well, no, they are
different.
based in America. I think they're just Canadian. I think.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
they were actually in the.
Present-
I thought they were actually in the
Yeah.
Canada.
No, because we looked at it. Funny enough, because I was talking to Ash about where we're going for like honeymoon and all that, and they're about an hour's drive from LA.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so it's quite interesting. But I think they have got multiple sites. So chances are they probably do now. In
Wouldn't surprise
Canada,
me.
but
I mean,
mate,
To be fair, if you
Fucking
watch
brilliant.
it, Ash, it's one of them things. For a car guy, it's like a dream. Like it's almost like a wet dream.
It's cool.
Because you go into this guy's land, and he has literally got like, I don't know what, probably 100 acres
I know this is a different show.
full of cars.
That's what.
Rust
Yeah,
to
I know.
Riches.
No, that's not Rust to Riches.
Oh,
I know
no,
the one
I'm
you're
thinking
thinking
Rust
of.
Valley.
Yes,
I'm thinking of Rust Valley.
that is
Rust
Canada.
to Riches is the it's the I can only think of it as that really fit woman that's in it. The female mechanic. What's her name?
I don't know. Mate.
never
I don't
remember.
know.
But Paige Van Zandt, I believe, is her name. Something like that, isn't it?
I don't know. Either
But
way.
she's really big. She's an Instagram model and also a massive car builder and mechanic as well. And she's got actually a bigger following than the actual garage does.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
but
mate.
I just think
Sells.
that guy is he's one of like the
He's so
genuine
clever.
souls, if you know what I mean.
So
But
clever.
he's like an artist, isn't
I mean,
he?
yeah, he's
incredible.
more of an artist than he is a car builder, I would say. 'Cause
Yeah.
like
But he's a lass of a
anyone
dying
can
breed.
build a car. This is one thing I've always said: is anyone can build a car. Anyone can go out and
I
buy a car.
can't build a fucking
Yeah,
car.
'cause he owns Gotham.
No, the thing is,
Gotham Garage.
if you
Does he?
Oh,
Gotham
mate.
Garage, yeah, is his channel. That's what he actually sells cars through and all that kind of stuff. And they've actually got their own YouTube channel as well, actually. Really good stuff.
Gotham
really good
Garage.
content. Yeah, Gotham Garage is really good content.
Thanks, mate, for all you Northerners out there.
My daughter. Oh, you said garage.
I
My
know,
daughter
but
does
I
that.
say that.
She's like, that needs to go in the trash. No, it doesn't. It needs to go in the bin.
Goes in the bin.
Yeah, it goes in the bin. Doesn't go in the trash. You're not an American.
I think Americanisms is one of those things that we all probably
Because
just
you
pick
watch
up
so
on.
many
Yeah, of course we do.
movies
It's just
and
one of the
TV.
things we all pick up. I know I used to do it as a kid all the time. My parents always used to tell me off for saying trash and not rubbish. That was one thing I was always told.
Carl, you were saying about some series about a plane going missing.
Yes, Manifest, mate.
Yeah,
Oh,
was it sick?
It's beautiful.
So what was it about? Tell
So
us.
is this based on the
Sell-
Malaysian flight?
sell
that
it.
They kind of got the story from it, yeah, and they kind of
Okay.
like tried to put their own twist on
Oh, okay.
a possible way of it
How
kind
it
of
might
happening,
have
if you know what I mean,
happened.
and all
Okay.
that. But yeah, basically it's like a bunch of they're all sat at an airport where they're like in Jamaica at the time, and all of a
Nice.
sudden like this like woman just calls out from like the tannoy and just says, look, anyone that wants to hold back their flight because we've overbooked, we'll give you £400. We'll put you on this other flight.
Yeah,
So
nice.
like obviously people are like yes,
Yeah, nice.
kind of like that. So you got like 3 from a family and 2 from the family go off, and there's like loads of different circumstances. And while they're up in the plane, you see like this like storm shower type thing, and the turbulence, mate. This whole like it's as if the plane's about to go bang. Do you know what I mean? Next thing you know, everything just goes all stable again, and they just think it's a normal flight. They just say, "Oh, we're here to here to land. Are we free to drop?" type thing. And they was like, what are you again? Like that, giving out the code of their plane and all that. So he says it again, and they're like, no, go to this other place. Like so it's like an hour extra flight type thing. So obviously they're like, the pilot's staying all quiet. They land, there's fucking like military there, police there, everything. They all get off the plane, and they get told it's like 5.5 years later. But to them, it's an hour
They've
later.
just
Do you know what I mean? They just had a
flown.
normal
I
flight.
vaguely remember seeing a trailer for that actually.
Mate,
Now you
but
mention
it's
it, yeah.
like some
Is
trippy
it
shit
sick?
going on. I don't want to spoil a lot
Is
of
it still
it. but-
coming out? So week by
So
week.
it's only it's just finished the second season. Third season's being made, but
Is
obviously
it?
it'll probably be a bit delayed now.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that.
But mate, like me and the missus are like part of the way through season 2 now, and it's just heating up. If you know what I mean, it's just like, yeah, they've really thought this through. Do you know what I mean? And the other one that I'm going to mention, mate, I don't know if anyone's Karate Kid here, because that's just like my dream.
Cobra Kai.
Cobra fucking Kai.
I haven't watched it.
I'll
It's
tell you
YouTube,
what,
It is
isn't it?
honestly
Yeah, I was
probably
about to say, I got
the
that when
best
that
series.
first started on YouTube. Mate.
Yeah.
I watched it originally when that started, and I'll tell you what,
Incredible.
yeah, I'd take that over all of the remakes.
Does anyone
of
do
the
a Crane
Karate Kid.
Mate, yeah, thank you.
I would honestly
Thank you.
take that over all
It
the
makes
remakes
Johnny
of the Karate Kid.
look amazing.
Yeah.
fucking Ralph Macchio looked like an absolute arsehole.
And it develops their stories so much more. Like the thing
The
is,
second season was amazing. I don't know if you've seen it.
I mean, I've just seen bits of it. I kind of lost it at season 2. I have this habit of doing this with TV series. Did the same thing with Game of Thrones and stuff like that. I just sort of get bored after season 1.
Watch to season 6 of Game of Thrones and then stop.
I'm terrible.
I stopped it when it came out.
Don't bother the last time.
I think the only one that kept me going for very long was Breaking Bad. I think that was one of the few that I literally watched. And
Did you watch the Breaking Bad movie that came out?
I haven't seen that at all. El Camino.
Yeah, mate, that's fucking sick.
I've heard a lot of mixed things about it though. Apparently, a lot of like the sort of die-hard Breaking Bad fans weren't too keen on it.
Yeah, I've heard that.
It's fucking quality. I've been watching a new series. It's called The 100.
Right, so I've actually seen parts of this because this was originally on E4.
It was.
I believe it's now on
CW.
I believe it's now on streaming.
It's on
services.
Netflix.
Yeah.
No, Amazon. And I've binged 2.5 seasons in a couple of days.
So how are you finding it? Because I found when I watched it on TV, it was very hard to keep track of what was actually happening. I'm sure it's not too bad if you watch it.
Essentially, the plot of it is 12 space stations in the sky.
2-0, sorry.
Is it 2-0 now?
Sorry. Carry on.
These space stations in the sky, a nuclear war happens on Earth. So they essentially work out the fact that it's going to be 200 odd years before the Earth will be habitable again, for them to then leave their space station and come down. So these 12 space stations all merge into one and become a community that's run by a council of a few people and a guy called the Chancellor who oversees everything. So essentially on this space station, because there's very little food and very little oxygen, they essentially have like martial law. So if you're over the age of 18 and you commit a crime, they will float you. So essentially they put you in an airlock and suck you out to space. But if you commit a crime, if you're under 18, you go to prison until your 18th birthday, and then they will reassess your crime and see if you're good to go into society. So it's essentially a prison full of kids. And
sounds kind of crazy. Is that I don't know what made me think of it. The most recent Superman movie, Henry Cavill. It just reminds me of when they send him out into that dark space. What's it called?
I can't remember. The negative zone.
Yeah, that's it. The Phantom Zone or whatever
Phantom
it's called.
Zone.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the one.
I don't know why it just made me think of that.
Essentially, they turn around. There's an issue with the ship, and they find out they're running out of oxygen, and the only thing they can do is cull people to make sure they have enough oxygen to fix the problem. They turn around and think, you know what, we need to fight. It's been 100 years, 97 years or whatever it is. We need to find out if the Earth is habitable. So they round up these 100 kids and they go,
guinea pigs.
You're going to be sent down to Earth.
Kids.
Yeah,
Guinea
kids. Yeah, you're going to be sent down to Earth and see if you die of radiation. Because if you don't die of radiation, we'll then start the Exodus, where all of our people can then be sent down and they live on Earth. And they send these 100 down, and they have to fend for themselves against the remnants of the human race. It's fucking sick.
Yeah, I mean,
it's so good. And I've loads of twists and turns, and it's called The 100. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's fucking sick.
I mean, the funny thing is you'd probably assume that it would end up in this like Mad Max.
And it's got loads of lesbians.
That's what you sort of assume in your head, isn't it? That it would be this
loads of lesbians. It's great.
What I actually like about the 100 is they sort of flip that on its head, because it sort of all becomes jungle, doesn't it? And everything's sort of overgrown, and it's all canopy, and it's all. So
they're landing like a forest. It's fucking.
So they kind of flip that idea on its head, and I actually really like that. I think the way they sort of played with it, especially as the story first developed, I thought was really well. The thing that lost me is you get sort of halfway through the series, and you can tell at some point there was either a changing writer or they decided to go in a different way.
Yeah, it does start getting a bit over the top, and you sort of think to yourself, why are you making the decisions you're making? It's fucking stupid.
Oh yeah, I mean,
but
in a survival situation,
these are kids that are trying to survive on the Earth with savages. It's quality. You have to watch it.
Oh yeah, I
Really
mean, I think
fucking
the most recent ones I've seen, I don't know how far you've got in, but the most recent one I've seen, like there's like an ancient race that's like figured out. Oh, I won't spoil it for you, but trust me, it gets.
I'm
Judging by-
halfway
yeah,
through
judge-
series
It
3.
gets a whole lot
Judging
weirder.
by Ash's face, like, what?
Honestly,
Yeah.
it gets a
I
whole
don't
lot
know,
weirder.
what do you mean? Just say. What
So from what I remember from the last one I watched, and I remember this being on TV, there was like they were humans just like anyone else, but they'd perfected like basically how to live forever. So they figured out how to take their consciousness out of their body and then put that into another body.
No, you're thinking of altered carbon.
I'm pretty sure that's
what happens.
100.
No, so in the 100,
100's got the
spoilers,
blonde girl, isn't it? Sort
Yeah,
of shoulder length
yeah.
hair. She's like
So,
the main
spoilers,
protagonist. Yeah, so it is the same thing.
it turns out, are you going to watch it? Because I don't want to spoil
No,
it for you
crack
unless you
on,
don't
mate.
mind. So it turns out the nuclear war wasn't started by the Chinese. It was actually started by an artificial intelligence. And during,
So the Chinese.
yeah, the
Yeah, probably
yeah, so the
invented by the Chinese. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Or
It was
Elon
actually,
Musk.
it was
Someone
actually
keep an eye on him. Yeah.
American AI anyway, but
It'd have to be an American AI,
this
wouldn't it? Blow shit up, yeah.
this AI works out a way where she gets humans that are suffering because they're on the fucking earth being hunted by savages, and all this stuff's happened to in the past. If they swallow this like little disc thing, the stuff around it disperses in the body, and a AI chip fuses itself to their central nervous system. So this AI can then control the humans around there, and her big selling point is you won't feel pain because she can turn off the pain receptors in their brain, and they
I
go
need that
to
shit for my MS,
No,
mate.
yeah.
It'd be fucking brilliant.
they lose all memory of their loved ones, what's happened to them, and she's essentially created a digital city where their consciousness will live.
Pushed into, yeah.
So that's her selling point, but I'm halfway through season 3, so that's what I'm learning about now.
Okay, so you're not quite at the point where I think I watched it. I think you're getting towards that point, but you're not quite at that point.
What you got to do is watch that, then watch Altered Carbon.
Altered Carbon, I started watching
It
that, and
gets,
that was
it
pretty
gets
fucking
weird.
sick.
The 100, that gets weird.
Yeah,
It
I'm
gets
looking
hard
forward to
follow.
it. I'm-
But it sounds like you've been following the storyline quite well, so you'll probably do a lot better than I did.
It does help that I've binged it all, and I know what's going
I mean,
on.
there's a plus side.
That's what happens when you're a multi-millionaire at
Yeah,
home
exactly.
and
When
you
you're
don't.
spending all your fortunes,
If
yeah,
I was a
unemployed, yeah.
multi-millionaire, we'd have a proper. I'd have a Joe Rogan studio set up.
Right now we're all wearing gold chains.
Yeah,
and we're
that's
in like
it,
this
we're all
weird
just
fancy.
24 karat gold dips, just head to toe.
Look, did you hear a tiger killed its zookeeper in a Swiss zoo? Yeah, so a Siberian tiger has killed a zookeeper in Swiss zoo in front of visitors and other employees.
See, I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what,
She
they
got-
should charge for more.
They should.
See, I don't know if this is just the pessimist in me or not, but when you
I don't feel sorry for him.
yeah, like when you
I'm not gonna lie.
when you read a thing like that, and it's like
You take them out of
guy-
the habitat, what do you
Well,
expect?
if you break it down to the most simplest thing, it's one of those things like on Facebook, isn't it, where it's like explain in the simplest fashion your favourite movie or whatever. If
Yeah.
you explain that headline in the simplest way, guy goes into animal cage, animal eats man. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that's
What do you
not a big
expect?
surprise. Like, if you put a
A massive
carnivore in a
predator.
cage with another like male
also, the
that's
ti-
made of meat, he's going to get eaten.
Tiger probably hasn't been fed properly in 3 months. You know what I mean? That
He's probably
thing's
watched
been like-
Madagascar and gone, hang on a minute.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
You look like you could be fairly tasty.
But I mean,
But
this is the
condolences
thing.
to her family, but what fucking stupid idea.
Well, it's like
Get
when
into
when
a
Tiger
fucking
King
cage.
first came out, that lady
I love that
who lost her
programme,
arm.
mate.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's absolutely brilliant.
I'll
and
tell,
that
no,
lady
sorry,
lost her
I'll
arm,
tell you
I'll
why I love that programme. I was watching it and I thought, this is fucking weird. This ain't going to get any weirder than this. And
Oh,
then
it
a
does.
second later, it's like, by the way, he's also in a fucking 3-man relationship and they're all fucking married. And
And
I'm like,
none of
this is
them were
gonna
gay.
get- yeah, none of them were gay. He's just grooming these straight lads. And I'm like,
I mean,
this
when-
is getting really weird. And then a fucking lady gets her arm bitten off and I'm like, this can't get any weirder. It's like, this guy's running for president. I'm like, what?
They gave up to run for governor or something
Yes,
in the end, or something like
giving
that.
out
But-
campaign condoms with
Yeah,
his
campaign
face on
condoms,
it.
God.
Have you not watched it?
No.
Mate, you need to watch it.
Trust
It's the
me,
fucking
it's-
weirdest thing
it's
you've
so
ever
funny
seen in
and
your life.
so weird at the same time.
And then
I mean,
it manages to tie in a murder conspiracy about a millionaire lady
Yeah.
that fucking killed her husband and fed her to tigers.
and even now, I don't know if people have been following it recently, but even now, there's actually been people that recently have actually gone to Trump basically with paperwork and a file saying this is why we think Joe should get a well, I can't remember what it is when the president, a pardon, that's the
A
word.
pardon.
Yeah, so they
Presidential
basically
pardon.
went to him and gave him reasons of why he
If there's
deserves a
anyone who
presidential
asks
pardon.
Trump,
Yeah, ask Trump. Yeah, he'll give you anything.
pardon?
But I mean, this is the crazy thing: is the story's got so much hype that people almost seem to forget that there was genuinely a court case. He did genuinely get charged for not
He's
only
in prison,
not
and
yet.
he also writes to people that send him letters.
Yeah.
You send Joe Exotic a letter in
he
prison,
will
he'll
write you
write
back. He will write you back.
It's
Brilliant.
fucking mental.
There have been a lot of people that have wrote him since this has all happened, and yeah, I mean, he's probably loving it because he's finally got what he wanted. You know, he's now one of the most
Mate,
famous
he's
guys.
famous. He always
in
wanted
the-
to be famous.
Yeah.
But also, Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin, she's got what she wants as well because she now owns his zoo.
I don't know if you've seen recently. So the guy who actually took ownership over the zoo from Joe
Yeah,
Exotic-
Jeff Lowe.
Jeff Lowe, that's the name. Thank you very much. I couldn't remember his name. He actually did an interview basically when all this went through, and it was confirmed that she was going to get the rights to their land.
And he was like, I don't care.
He didn't care because he was already building a whole new zoo that was actually right behind a casino, which was going to get a lot more business for them. They're going to make a lot more bigger. And I mean, come on, think about it. If you've been in a casino for 4 or 5 hours, you've lost all your money. You know,
Let's get
you're
your arm
drunk,
bitten
you're
off
drunk
by a
out your
tiger.
arse. Let's go and look at
Mate,
the tigers.
that fucking programme, it is one of the best things I've ever watched in my
Oh,
life.
honestly, yeah. I mean, and he gets
makes-
crazy.
he-
Like the
he
pheromones.
tells-
he
yeah,
reckons
mate.
that they sprayed pheromones on his shoes so he'd get attacked by the lion.
Tells people that she murdered her husband
Hmm.
and fed him to tigers, and then he goes and makes a fucking music video
Yeah.
about her feeding her husband. So
With
he
a
gets a
lookalike. With a
lookalike
lookalike, yeah.
of this lady going around with these tongs feeding fucking meat.
Like stringy meat. Like stringy meat. Yeah.
And he's like, there's nothing left of her husband apart from this, and scoops up a handful of tiger shit. It's,
Yeah.
mate, it's
Oh my
fucking
God.
mental.
Oh, mate, honestly.
It's probably the best thing I've ever watched
Probably
in my life.
probably the craziest part that actually genuinely scared me through that is it's towards the end of the series, but they actually they end up going up to her animal sanctuary. This is basically the whole argument between the two of them. Is one of them is called a sanctuary, one of them is called a zoo. They both do the exact same thing. They both do the exact
Yeah.
same job.
They both
one
have
of them is
tigers
called a
in
sanctuary.
cages
One of
that
them
are
is
a
called
lot
a zoo.
smaller than they should be.
I mean,
They're
technically,
both
she
in-
actually makes more money than he does because he has to pay the people
Yeah,
that work
yeah.
there. Sanctuary, they have to volunteer.
No,
So
he
actually-
didn't. He didn't pay any.
Well,
of them,
I
did
mean,
he?
this is a lot of the other
But
things in the
he
background.
he
that
opened a
happen.
restaurant, and he used to feed that. He would go to like Walmart and places like
No,
that.
they used to send the trucks.
yeah.
They used to send the trucks.
and go and pick up all the expired meat to
So-
feed to the tigers, so it was cheap or free.
So in America,
And
whenever
then
you
we-
pull a bit of meat off the shelf and you take it to the counter, if for whatever reason you don't buy that bit of meat or that bit of meat doesn't get sold for whatever reason,
Yeah.
they cannot put that back on the shelf.
Ah,
So it will
okay.
just get thrown into a bin. And then that
And he'd
bin
go and
eventually
collect
will
his
get
bin.
put onto a lorry, and that lorry will get taken over
And
to
then
his
he
estate.
started selling food, and he was selling this fucking gone off
Pizza.
pizza
Oh,
and shit.
God.
That was
Mate,
made.
it's the craziest thing you'll
Fucking
ever watch
hell.
in your
But
life.
bearing in mind, these guys that were living on site, working on site, and everything like that, if they wanted a actual like meal with meat in it that they weren't taking from the animals themselves, they were having to go into these bins before it got given to the animals, and they were taking out their dinners. So they would take out like a steak. They'd be like, oh yeah, I've got a steak for tonight. That steak's probably been in there a month.
Yeah.
Like in no refrigeration, whatever.
It's fucking vile.
But you know, oh, I've got a steak tonight, and they're loving it, you know. And I think that's probably the saddest thing is all these people that got pulled into his craziness.
It was a cult. It
I
was
mean, it was,
literally
yeah,
a
it wasn't
cult.
far off a cult. But yeah, like I was saying, so the scariest thing about that was towards the end of the series, they end up renting a helicopter and flying over her sanctuary, and they're on about dropping live grenades out of the side of the, bearing in mind, like, she's not even in the sanctuary probably, she's probably in an office
Yeah.
somewhere, and like, it's full of people, like, there's, like, the sanctuary isn't closed, like, it's open, and, like, to the public, and he's on about dropping live grenades out of the side
It's
of
the
this.
funniest shit
Honestly,
you ever watch
he
in
was
your life.
mental. He was insane. He used to go everywhere with a gun and a knife on him, like all the time. He would constantly be carrying a weapon, and like he even said in multiple interviews and stuff that he would not hesitate to use it if like any what the protesters or anything like that tried to. Yeah, he would quite
Any
happily
conflict,
whip out
yeah,
his
like
gun and start shooting.
It's
And
fucking
yeah,
mental.
it is crazy. There was actually a story, a really sad story, that did get. I don't know if it actually got told on the series or not, but I know it was told by a lot of the people who were actually in there at the time. A local lady had brought a horse to him, and
To look after a
and she
couple
used
of
to, yeah,
horses.
she used to have a horse-drawn carriage. So she had two horses on this horse-drawn carriage, and they were old. They'd got decrepit. She couldn't afford to keep them anymore. She couldn't afford to look after.
Yeah.
So she's gone to him. And she's like, look, you know,
Can you
I
look
just want
after
them
it?
to have a good life. Can you take them and just let them have, you know? And then he's gone around to her and he's like, yeah, no, they'll play in the fields. They'll run around. They'll love
We've
us
got
out. So
loads
much
of
fun.
space.
Yeah.
As soon as she left his land,
He
he went
shot it.
out there with his revolver and shot them both in the head.
And fed them to the tigers.
Turns around to Jeff Lowe and goes, "That's tiger meat for the next week."
Fuck you know.
This guy,
Innovator, mate. Innovator.
and this guy was doing this as like an everyday job. This isn't like a, you know, this was a one-off kind of thing. Like, this guy was doing this every single day. I mean, the story is even crazier than anything we can tell you. Because I mean, like, the FBI get involved. There's like an undercover sting. Someone that's involved in it turns out to be involved in undercover crime. And like, oh, it's just, like, it's stupid. Like, one of them was driving around in a stolen Hummer or something like that, I think, or something stupid like that. All this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, it just, honestly, like, it's such a hillbilly sort of story. That you just
It's
can't help but
mental.
laugh.
I've never seen anything like it. Watch it. It's fucking amazing.
Because honestly, like Ash says, you watch a bit and you'll be like, this cannot get any weirder or any crazier. And then literally like 2 minutes later, you'll be saying, oh, holy fucking shit, it got crazier.
Yeah.
Because it really does. It amps up. I'll tell you what, the way they filmed that and the way they produced that, I think they hit the nail on the head with that.
They
'Cause
told the film producers told him that we want to make a documentary about tiger zoos, and he's like, "Fuck yeah, I want to be famous." But they filmed it in a way and edited in a way so everything that comes out of his mouth is
was on
just
camera.
Yeah.
it's fucking mental.
I mean, to be fair, that guy, bless him, who spent 2 years of his life
Yeah.
filming him every day. So while this was going on, there was a whole other set of journalists that were there, and they were filming him for their own documentary series. But Joe Exotic only agreed to it.
No,
if the,
he was a film producer, and Joe employed him.
No. He only agreed to do
his YouTube videos.
if he took over his YouTube channel, because he'd been doing YouTube for years, but he could not get his channel out as a massive thing. He just couldn't do it, and he couldn't ever get those sort of viral videos. So he sort of passed it over to this guy, who was a well-known producer in America at the time, and had produced quite a lot of good stuff. But that was under the agreement that he got to film his own thing separately about the zoo and about his life and about him and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, towards the end of the series, and again, I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's one of those sort of tear-jerking moments where the entire office that all of that was kept in, one night they just woke up and it had been burnt down throughout the night. No one could explain it. No one could explain how they got in there. It was all locked. There was 2 people that had keys, Joe Exotic and the producer. And the producer slept throughout the whole night. He had people in the trailers near him that could confirm it. Like, the whole thing was just so crazy. I mean, crocodiles end up getting killed in it because there was a crocodile sanctuary built exactly next door. It gets, when I say it gets crazy, it gets crazy. But I mean, like, this guy, basically, the entire 2 years of his life, he devoted to filming him. He moved into the zoo just so he could film it every day. You know, he had nothing left to his name by this point, and everything that he had that he could have sold was in that building when it burned.
Yeah, it's mental, mate.
I mean, to be fair, I think he did the right thing at the time, because he just immediately turns around and says, you know what, fuck this craziness, I'm gone.
Yeah, he left.
And he
moved
left.
to Canada.
Literally, he packed up that day and did not go back ever. Didn't even go back for his stuff, didn't go back for anything. He literally packed up what he could, left, and never went back. And yeah, I think now he's actually in Switzerland.
Canada.
Oh, is he in Canada? Last time he was in Eastern Europe.
There was they brought out a follow-up because they didn't realise how big the series would be. So they set up a follow-up one where they went and they video called the people that were in it, people that worked at the zoo and stuff like that. But the way I didn't like that, because the questions that the presenter was asking was not tasteful at all.
Yeah.
It just wasn't good. You know, tattoo parlours can open on Monday, the 13th, and gyms can open on the 25th. Yeah.
Because when the training starts, mate.
Is that when your training starts? Is it?
I'm
So I
smoking
think
as much as I can right now.
we should probably leave it there because we're at an hour and 8 minutes. It's been a fantastic conversation.
It really
so,
has.
Carl,
I
thank
didn't
you
even
very
get
much
into
for
half
coming
of
on.
the stuff that I wanted to get into.
What did you want to get into?
Well,
We
I'll
can
tell you
save
what.
it.
I'll tell you what. Should we do a quick fire round?
Quick
give,
fire.
give me 2
Quick
minutes.
fire round.
Right. I'm going to focus completely on you because it's pretty much all MMA. So we're just going to do quick fire rounds, right? So.
No.
No. Fuck off.
So, Masvidal versus Usman. What's your favourite? Who do you think? Masvidal. Okay.
Tenor on that one.
Volkanovski versus Holloway. This is the second one. Obviously, this is the rematch. This is probably going to be the best fight on the card. I think
it's going to be a.
Because we all know that Holloway can swing for 5 rounds.
I'm going to give Holloway the edge.
See, I'm thinking Holloway as well. Right, so
10 quid on that one.
Third round.
10 quid, third round. If you lose that 10 quid, it's nothing to do with
nothing
us.
to do with us.
You were
Yeah.
just fucking
If you
stupid.
Don't worry, Ash
if you
will
lose
replace
10
it, it's
quid,
fine, yeah,
Ash will replace it with
it's
20
fine.
quid.
Yeah,
Just send you a
he's
dress
rolling
to
in
it.
it at the moment in his unemployment
You're all
checks. basically.
I think
fucking
it's I ain't
stupid
got a
for
job at gmail.com, but don't worry, I'm rolling in it.
So I think the last,
It's
I think the
no
last,
email at
I
gmail.com.
think the last major fight on the Fight Island card is, I think I'm pronouncing this right. It's Petr Yan versus Jose Aldo, which obviously is supposed to be a massive.
It's going to be interesting.
Because I think Petr Yan is undefeated at this
Yeah,
point,
I'm going to go with him. I think it might
he
be a
looks
weight
the
too.
stronger fighter.
Yeah,
I'll
it
be
might
honest,
be a
he
weight
looks the
too
stronger
far for
fighter.
Aldo. But big up Aldo for getting where he has anyway. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean,
£3 on that one.
And then,
he weighs about £3 now, mate.
but last one, and these two kind of group in together. So I don't know if you saw the Max Roachkopf fight recently.
Yes.
And I don't know if you saw the Anthony Smith fight recently versus Teixeira.
I think it was Teixeira, yeah.
Teixeira. Obviously, Anthony Smith physically lost teeth during the fight, and,
Yes,
and he was quite clearly
happens.
seen handing them over to the ref as
Been
he
there,
was
done
fighting.
that.
Yeah. And obviously, Max Roachkopf was
Crowns, isn't you?
At Crown, I'm still missing out half a shit out there.
well, obviously Max Roachkopf was quite clearly seen complaining, to his corner for basically the entire time he was sat on that bench, that he did not want to go back out and fight.
Yeah, see, there's a big debate with this.
So
There's
how
been
do
two
you feel
fighters
about that?
now.
Obviously, coming from the profession,
so
you've probably got a better.
personally, it's like, don't get me wrong. Mate, it's been moments in my fights like where you get to sit down for a minute, reflect, do what you do. I mean, you've got a guy chatting at you. If I'm honest with you, half of it don't even sink in because you're just thinking, what the fuck just happened that round?
And also, you're taking punches to the edge. You're not
focusing, with it. Yeah,
No,
it's
of course
like, but I can see it from both points. But in my head, like as a fighter, if a fighter's already quit in his head, I don't mean like he's quit as in he's a weak guy or anything, nothing like that. But if he's checked out for the night,
it's a mental quit. Yeah,
the only thing that's going to happen is the worst.
He's going to get knocked out. He's going to go out there.
You're not going to get a lucky swing in because you're not going in full intentions.
And potentially he's going to come out at that end
with
with a
career
brain
ending.
injury. Yeah,
Could be absolute career ending. I think at that point you hear someone say, "I don't want to fight."
Yeah,
it's got to be stopped, mate. Do you know what I mean? So there's that woman. I can't remember the woman's name that did it as well.
But, the Wei Li Zhang fight. I think I know exactly who you mean. I can't remember her name.
The same happened there. She was begging to stop, mate.
I mean, and
she
her
terrible,
her
bless
head.
her.
I mean, her head was what?
She grew her head on her head.
Yeah, she literally did. I don't know if you saw that, Ash, but honestly, the hematoma. Is that
Really,
right?
yeah,
It's a
that's
hematoma.
right, mate.
The hematoma on the side of her head was, I'm not joking, probably about the size of half a football.
Yeah.
Like
it's like a size 3 football was hanging
She
off her head,
she
mate.
went from looking like
fucking
a
mental.
nice looking fighter, like a nice looking lady fighter, to looking like something that you saw in a zombie movie. Honestly, it was grotesque.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just no, it's going
That's
to be a
the
good
dangers
card.
of fighting,
Obviously,
isn't it?
big shout out to Nathaniel Wood as well. I just want to say good luck to him.
Yeah, hopefully he wins.
Got everything crossed, and like I say, he's got a good coach behind him. Do you know what I mean? Really, really strong coach. So, and maybe come back on the show closer to mine, mate.
Yeah,
And,
that'd be nice.
see how it goes.
Or maybe next week we could even do a review on some of these. We could even do maybe even a phone call chat or something. We could do a review on these
give me
UFC
a phone
fights.
call. Give me a
FaceTime from the
FaceTime.
iPad.
Yeah,
We
that's
could do a review
fine.
on the UFC fights. I'll watch them as well, and then we'll have something to chat then, and then Ash can stare at the wall for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
mind.
fine. Yeah, no, I'm up for that, mate. But it's been brilliant.
Well, let us know what you think, guys. If you have any opinions or anything, if you'd like us to talk more on this, obviously this is a subject we can carry on going forward. So if you're interested, let us know, and we'll make sure we keep it going.
Yeah, again, thank you, Carl, for coming in.
That's all right,
Bill,
mate.
thank you
Thank
for
you again.
coming to co-host, seeing
Thank you
that
very
my other
much.
co-host couldn't make it tonight.
Yes,
And
bless
don't
him,
forget to like our Facebook page, leave us a 5-star review, and subscribe to our Spotify and iTunes or Apple
What's
podcast.
that Spotify name again?
Spotify, it's Proper Chaps,
There you go.
Proper Chat. Thank you very much, and thanks for listening.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, mate.